The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Jesus said to his disciples, "Be watchful, be alert. You do not know when the time will come. It is like a man traveling abroad. He leaves home and places his servants in charge, each to his own work, and orders the gatekeeper to be on the watch. Watch, therefore. You do not know when the Lord of the house is coming, whether in the evening, or at midnight, or at the cock crow, or in the morning. May he not come suddenly and find you sleeping. What I say to you, I say to all. Watch." The Gospel of the Lord. Be watchful. Be alert. You do not know when the Lord of the house is coming. This is not a call for us to look into the world and be attentive at some external event like Jesus coming over the horizon. It is not a call for us to stay as we are and try to be the first person to notice this second coming in order to present our unprepared self to him. This is a call for us to work on ourselves, to improve ourselves, to sort our house out so that we may be ready for the King. Not when he shows up at a distance like a returning traveler, but for when our relationship with him rises to the level that we can recognize him at the core of us. We do not know the day or the hour that our ignorance will be overcome, and we will be forced to acknowledge that God is more central to us than we are. And that realization will come at a time unknown to us. So we must be prepared. We must begin now. How do we prepare? We attempt always the highest goods that God conceives for us. We said a few weeks ago that these highest goods are things like reminding ourselves every day to do the right thing, to love fully, to live fully, to pursue fascinating experiences, to undertake important tasks, and to say what needs to be said out of love, to name just a few. We need to do these things that we are avoiding, things to which we are afraid. And if we can teach ourselves and those most dear to us to stand up in the face of things we are afraid of, we get stronger. And we do not know what our upper limits are. If for some period of time, let's say 10 years, we didn't avoid doing things we knew needed to be done by our own definition, not anyone else's, what would we be like? How prepared would we be? We must begin now. There are people in the world right now who do spend years, if not decades, working on doing the difficult things, preparing themselves, getting their house in order, being watchful and alert for the kingdom of God here. There are people who discover who they are and recognize the image and likeness of God at their core. We do not know the limits of these people. Most of them are not covered by the 24-hour news cycle. They are countercultural. And they inspire change and courage and strength. And that scares a lot of people, or at least makes them very uncomfortable. Uncomfortable because by comparing ourselves to them, we figure out why we suffer. Because we are not everything we could be. And thanks to them, we know it. And while that is a terrible thing to admit to ourselves, there is real promise in that knowledge. Because it shows us that there is another way that we can look and act in the world. So that what the world reflects on us can be much better than what it reflects on us currently. We must begin now. How much time do we waste per day? If you ask me, 4 hours, 5 hours, hours doing mindless stuff that does nothing to invest within me. It doesn't develop anything. Hours where we are not watchful or alert at the presence of the King who dwells at the core of us. 5 hours a day is 25 hours a week. That's 100 hours a month. That's 1,200 hours a year. That's 30, 40-hour work weeks. And how much is our time worth? $50 an hour? $100 an hour? That's $60,000, $120,000 worth of precious time where we could be preparing ourselves. How efficient would we be if we invested that much in ourselves? We must begin now. For lack of a better term, we would become enlightened to the image and likeness of God within us and others. God's will for us of upholding the dignity of the person standing before us would begin to make a lot more sense with this understanding. Would that change our perception of the world? Would that dissolve suffering, this enlightenment? We must begin now. Because it is not merely our fate that is affected by our effort to attempt the highest goods. It affects the fate of everyone we love, everyone connected to us. So it desperately matters what we specifically do. Be watchful. Be alert for that kingdom of heaven and its King to be revealed at our core. Because when we can recognize this successfully, we will lead all those we love to it as well. But we must begin now. Be watchful, not for a cold, external event to happen to us, but of an intimate, internal realization to happen because of us. We must begin now. In a few moments, we will say the words, and Jesus will come. It is my prayer that at a reception of the Eucharist this day, we may be watchful and recognize God at the core of all of us.